There's one question most men will never ask a woman. And the guys who do, they're the ones she can't stop thinking about. The ones she texts her friends about. The ones who turn a casual conversation into something she replays in her mind for days. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly what that question is, why it works on a psychological level, and how to use it without sounding like you're reading from a script. But here's the thing, if you're still asking, how was your day? And wondering why she's not opening up emotionally or sexually, this might be the most important thing you watch all year. I'm Dr. Magda Kay, your trusted men's health advisor, and we're diving into the psychology of female desire. We're covering three psychological triggers that most men completely ignore. And by the end of this, you'll understand why curiosity creates more attraction than confidence ever could. The third trigger, that's the one that separates guys she forgets from guys she can't get out of her head. Hit that subscribe button because what we're covering today isn't theory. It's based on real relationship psychology and communication research that actually works. All right, let's get into it. Most guys think attraction happens when they're impressive. They talk about their job, their accomplishments, what they've got going on. And look, there's nothing wrong with being successful, but here's what actually happens in a woman's mind when you spend the whole conversation talking about yourself. She zones out because attraction doesn't come from what you tell her about yourself. It comes from how you make her feel about herself when she's with you. And the fastest way to make a woman feel interesting, valued, and emotionally alive, ask her questions that actually matter, not what do you do for work, not where did you go to school? Those questions keep everything safe, logical, flat. They don't create any emotional spark. But when you ask a woman about her passions, about the moments that shaped her, about what makes her feel truly alive, you're doing something completely different. You're inviting her into a deeper space, a space where she can express herself, reflect, dream. And when a woman feels understood, that's when desire starts to build. Now, here's where most guys mess this up. They think asking deeper questions makes them seem too intense, too invested, too vulnerable. But emotional questions don't show neediness. They show depth. They prove you're not afraid of real connection. And honestly, that's what separates you from every other guy who's just trying to impress her. The second thing you need to understand is this: women don't open their bodies where they can't open their hearts. I know that makes a lot of guys uncomfortable because we've been taught that attraction is about charm, bravado, maybe some physical touch, but real intimacy, it begins with emotional safety. Emotional safety doesn't mean you agree with everything she says. It doesn't mean you're soft or weak. It means she feels like she can be herself around you without being judged, pressured, or rushed. When a woman's nervous system calms down around you, when she trusts that you see her, not just her body, that's when her walls start to soften. You create that safety by listening without interrupting, by asking follow up questions instead of redirecting everything back to yourself by saying things like, tell me more about that, or why does that matter to you? When you do this, she feels something rare: a man who doesn't consume her stories but actually holds them. A man who's not intimidated by her emotions but welcomes them, and that becomes desire. Now, the third psychological trigger, and this is critical, is understanding the difference between need and desire. Need pushes women away. Desire pulls them in. When you enter a conversation needing her approval, needing validation, desperately waiting for her to laugh at your jokes or respond to your texts, she feels that women can sense when a man is trying to earn worth instead of embodying it. But when you hold masculine presence, when you're grounded, comfortable in your own skin, not rushing the interaction, that's magnetic. Presence means you're not performing. You're not auditioning for her attention. You're simply there, fully there, listening without planning what to say next. You let silence breathe. You don't panic when she tests you. You stay rooted in yourself even when she's emotional. And that's steadiness. That's what makes her feel safe enough to surrender into her feminine energy. Here's the thing: when you stop needing her approval, she starts desiring yours. When you're not in a hurry for her body, she naturally wants to move closer because the feminine opens when it feels chosen, not consumed. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Okay, this all sounds great, but what do I actually ask? That's why I put together a free guide called 20 Best Sexual Questions to Ask a Woman. These aren't surface level questions. These are conversation starters that create emotional intimacy, build sexual tension, and help you understand what she genuinely desires without any awkwardness. These questions tap into emotional connection, past experiences, fantasies, and what makes her feel wanted. You can download it for free in the description below. So here's what I want you to remember. Attraction isn't about being perfect or having all the right answers. It's about being curious enough to ask questions that touch her inner world. It's about creating emotional safety through consistency and grounded presence. And it's about understanding that desire follows emotional connection, not the other way around. The man who gets this doesn't just get her attention on what way to do. He becomes unforgettable because he's not chasing her. He's creating a space where she naturally wants to reveal herself emotionally and physically. Before we wrap this up, I want to go one layer deeper because this is where real mastery comes in. Asking the right questions is powerful, but how you hold yourself while asking them is what determines whether they land as intriguing or intrusive. Tone, timing, and presence matter just as much as the words themselves. When you ask a meaningful question, don't rush to fill the space afterward. Let her think, let her feel. Silence isn't awkward when you're grounded. Silence is only uncomfortable when you're unsure of yourself. A calm pause tells her you're genuinely interested, not fishing for a response or trying to steer the conversation somewhere specific. It signals confidence without saying a word. And here's something most men never realize. Women don't fall for the question itself. They fall for the experience of being seen while answering it. If she shares something personal and you immediately try to relate it back to yourself, you break the spell. Instead, stay with her story. Reflect it back. Say things like, "That sounds like it really shaped you," or "I can hear how much that meant to you. This isn't therapy. It's attunement." It shows emotional intelligence, and that is deeply attractive. Another mistake men make is trying to escalate too fast after a deep moment. They think, okay, she opened up. Now it's time to make a move. But emotional intimacy needs room to breathe. When you don't rush the physical, the tension builds naturally. Desire grows in anticipation, not pressure. Trust that if you're creating the right emotional environment, the physical connection will follow on its own timeline. Let me be very clear about something. This isn't about manipulation. This is about alignment. You're not pulling strings or using tricks. You're creating a space where a woman feels safe enough to be honest, expressive, and open. And the right woman will respond to that with curiosity, warmth, and desire. The wrong woman won't, and that's okay too. This approach filters for emotional compatibility, not just attraction. As you practice this, you'll notice a shift. Conversations will feel richer. Women will linger longer. They'll share things they don't usually tell people. And you'll stop feeling like you have to perform, impress, or compete. You'll realize that real attraction feels calm, not anxious, rounded, not forced. So the next time you're talking to a woman, remember this. Don't try to win her over. Invite her in. Be curious, not calculated. It's not present, not performative. And ask questions that give her permission to explore who she really is, not just who she thinks she's supposed to be. That's how attraction becomes connection. That's how connection becomes desire. And that's how you become the man she doesn't just remember, but feels drawn to long after the conversation ends. If this changed how you think about attraction, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and tell me one question you're going to ask differently from now on. I read every single one. Thanks for watching.